Hey everyone, my name is Mario Peshev, and I'm really happy to be with you tonight on the WordPress webinar Ask the Expert announced by Wiziva. Right now, Steve is not here. He's going to be monitoring the questions, but I'm going to lead the show. So I have a list of the questions that all of you sent to me via the email and while subscribing to the email list. So we'll be ready to start in just a little bit. In the meantime, I'd like to say a few things. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight. We have a bunch of people who asked us really interesting questions. We're going to be covering security. We are also going to be talking about speed, about optimizations. Therefore, if you really want to know something in particular, just let me know. We have the link here, which is wiziva.com/webinar/ask the WordPress expert !live, which is the link that you can follow in order to join the webinar. It's already on, so you should have gotten the link via email. I just sent the newsletter a bit earlier today. So that's pretty much it. Without further notice, I'm going to be covering some of the questions that we've already revealed and we've already received during our show. So the first question, which is a bit more general, is from Dick from ARP God. The question is the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. So what's the difference between .com and .org? Now, WordPress as the platform, probably the version that you are using already, is the so-called WordPress.org. This is the default version of WordPress, the one that you can download from WordPress.org. And this is the version that you can host on your own server, which means that you need to navigate to WordPress.org, download the version of WordPress, then you need to own a domain and the hosting, and then you can upload the version of WordPress to your hosting, you can connect it to your domain name, and there you go, you have a WordPress version. On the other hand, WordPress.com is a software as a service, which is a self-hosted WordPress version. And WordPress.com is being used for smaller websites, for blogs. They also have a VIP platform for blogs such as CNF or TechCrunch and others. And that sort of platform is for more top-level blogs per se. But in general, you can, if you don't have the skills to manage and to maintain domains and hostings, and you don't want to pay for hosting itself, you can also deal with the hosted version, which is on WordPress.com. Now, WordPress.com is owned by Automatic, which is the company of Matt Mullenweg, one of the two co-founders of WordPress, the platform that we also use from WordPress.org. And that sort of platform is using the freemium model, again, the WordPress.com platform, which means that you can register your blog for free. You can set up, your own site. You can connect the subdomains such as your own website.wordpress.com, and there are a bunch of themes and plugins that you can use that are hosted in the platform. Now, the problem with WordPress.com is that it's limited. You can't upload your own themes. If you bought some from, say, Woo Themes or Elegant Themes or any other website, you can't upload it. You can only use the themes that are available from WordPress.com. Same goes for plugins. There's a limited number of plugins that you can use, and that's why you're pretty much limited. If you have a specific marketing plugin, if you bought something from Stanil or from me, that means that you're not going to be able to use it on WordPress.com, which is pretty much a limitation. Now, WordPress.com allows you to purchase some premium themes, which is good. But again, it's a limited pool of themes that you can use. So the short version is, if you're just starting, blogging or starting your own website, you can start on WordPress.com, but keep in mind that it's limited. Even if it's free and if it saves you the hassle from setting your own hosting, it's limited, which means that you're going to have to spend some time, dealing with migrations later. You won't be able to activate all of your marketing plugins and make your website really popular and well visited. While on the other hand, from WordPress.org, the only thing that's required from you is pretty much paying for domain and hosting, and then dealing with that hosting itself. So hey, Steve. If you're just starting, Hey, Stanil, you around?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. Can we see the people in the chat? How they can access the chat and ask questions?
So the chat should be available at Got a Question, the one that you submitted questions. Do you have access to this one? Okay, we can see this chat, but yeah, do you have access to the question that are asked on Got a Question?
No.
Okay, so I have a bunch of questions that we've received via email, and I've systemized them so we can use this one for now. And for further questions, we can use other platform or just follow up later. Is the Got a Question form working right now? You have any idea? Yes, we've just set it up, so this one here.
Yeah, people can submit questions there. No problem, yes.
Okay, so for now, I have a bunch of questions that you sent via email, as I said in the beginning. And if you have any questions, you can go to wiziva.com/webinars/ask-the-WordPress-expert !live, which is the link that you should have received via email from my newsletter a bit earlier today. So we've just discussed the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Now, the next thing that we're going to cover is the question again from Dick, which is about the WordPress 4.0 themes and plugins. So Dick asked us why the themes and plugins menu are not available for his dashboard, and I assume that the reason is that you're just not using administrative account. So in WordPress 4.1, there's no difference between the menu structure when it comes to themes and plugins. So having said that, you just you just need to see whether you're using administrative account, and if you're using that, it should be there. If you're using any other plugin such as WP Menu Editor Pro or something like that, then again you should just display your menus on the left. So that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, just reply via email, and I'm going to help you with that structure too. The next question is related to basic plugins to install. Now, there's no easy answer to that, because it really depends on the kind of structure and the kind of blog that you own and the kind of website that you're actually working with. Now, Eric asked us what are the best plugins to install, and what I'm going to say is that there are different categories of plugins that you'd like to install on your own website. Some of the plugins that I'd like to recommend, or the ones that I'm using on almost every website, are Akismet, which is integrated with WordPress. You pretty much get it once you have WordPress installed. Then you have WordPress SEO by Yoast, which is one of the most popular SEO plugins that will improve your SEO presence and generally your search engine term optimization. For contact forms, you can use Contact Form 7 or Gravity Forms. The later one is a premium plugin, but it's really advanced. It's really handy for you to create wizards, to create different kind of conditional flows, request forms, inquiry forms, and you can even connect it to PayPal or register users based on the form submissions. So it's really advanced per se. Now, if I have to mention only one single plugin that you have to have on your website install, it's pretty much Jetpack by Automatic. Jetpack is one plugin which represents a collection of plugins. So it means that you have a lot of features integrated in this one plugin, and once you connect it to your WordPress.com account, you'll be able to actually navigate and use all of the features that are available in your Jetpack plugin. Some of the features that are included are, for example, the WordPress.com stats engine, which would allow you to keep track of the users on your website. You have stuff such as syntax highlighter, you have email subscription, you have Facebook like and Twitter like buttons. You're able to manage your comments, which means that you can connect, for example, Facebook comments or WordPress.com account or other popular commenting systems. You have specific search engine that's integrated in Jetpack. There are really a lot of sub-plugins that you can use when you install and connect Jetpack, which is pretty neat. Some of the other plugins that I'd still like to mention are Google Analytics or Google Analyticator. These are both plugins for managing Google Analytics. So even if you use the WordPress.com stats engine, you'd still like to have some Google integration for your website. And some of those plugins allow you to actually integrate the Google dashboard and actually have access to your Google dashboard in your WordPress dashboard. So you won't have to log into google.com. You're just able to log into your WordPress admin dashboard and start navigating and looking at your stats. So that's pretty much it. It's really handy. It's really helpful. It really allows you to track your conversions and generally manage all of your Google-related process with statistics on your dashboard. The other thing that I'm going to mention is a free plugin which is called Related Posts for WordPress. You might have seen another free plugin which is yet another Related Posts plugin, which is YARP. Both of those plugins are really handy for you to create connections between different posts. Which means that, for example, if you have a tutorial section, if you have articles, or even if you just have blog, it allows you to add a snippet at the end of your blog post and say, now after you've read our post, check out those tutorials too, or check out those blog posts too. So both plugins create some sort of relation based on keyword match, based on number of views and other things. They have a really complicated algorithm to figure this out, but those plugins are really handy for you to actually connect people to other posts of yours, because each post can be shared on social networks or found by Google, and when people when this post is the first thing that your visitors see on your website, it really helps for you to show them your other posts and then make them stay longer on your website and check more of your resources. Now, all of those tips are pretty much general, and all of those plugins are plugins that you can use on pretty much every single website. That's why I'm recommending them here. Now, there are different types of websites that you can manage with WordPress. You can have e-commerce. You might do a membership website. You can be dealing with a forum or social media platform based on BuddyPress or something else. But the gist is that that small collection of plugins is something that you can install on every single website. All of them are pretty popular. They have a good support. Most of them are free, so it doesn't hurt if you install them on your website. Another note is that we're going to mention other plugins during this hangout. We are going to cover different things related to security or caching. So keep in mind that we are also going to mention other plugins during this presentation. And now, the second question that I'm going to review is related to secure downloads. And it's a question from Patrick, and the question is, how can we create a secure download area in WordPress for digital content and courses? I've tried plugins and themes, but content always finds its way to sharing sites. Now, that's a very interesting problem. The main reason that this content is visible is that by default, when you have WordPress installed, you upload content through the media or through some other plugins in your WP content folder. So if your website is mywebsite.com, then the uploads are probably going to be in mywebsite.com/WP content/uploads/2015/01, and then we have your file name. This file name is public. It's visible, which means that if you're using a standard backbone WordPress installation, and then you start uploading some important documents, you start putting your signature on there, everything around that, then it means that all those documents are going to be public. And that's pretty much a security risk that you need to be aware of when using WordPress. So having said that, you need to use other ways to actually store your content. But even if it's easy to guess the URL, which is, for example, WP content uploads 2015-01, even if you're able to guess that content and you migrate to another place to host your content, for example, Dropbox or some other website or some FTP server, then you still have the issue with managing the link and the publicity of this link. Now, even if you use, for example, Dropbox, someone might download your resource from Dropbox and just share the link on for example, Facebook or Twitter, and share it with his or her friends. Then we have, again, the exclusivity problem, because the resource is there, someone have access to this link, and they can download the content from that link in particular. So what we can do to protect that is using different strategies to publish our content in a way that it's only visible from specific users. Since Patrick also asked for digital courses, which is courses that are being recorded and shared online for a limited number of users, you need to be using specific plugins in order to manage that behavior. And by specific users, what I mean is that you need to be able to install a plugin that's dealing with that security issue that we've just mentioned. So, for example, one of the plugins that I'm using for digital downloads is Easy Digital Downloads. Also, there's another plugin which is WP Membership Pro, or Course WP Course Member, I think was the right name. I'm going to send it to you via email a bit later. But getting back to Easy Digital Downloads, the Easy Digital Downloads plugin is protecting the link in the uploads folder from having access to it from a remote persona. So what do I mean here? Now, when you upload the resource, it's still going to be in WP content /upload/2015/01, and it's still going to be there physically. But if you type in the URL of this resource, your browser will not allow you to download it, because your server will say this resource is secured and you're not going to be able to access it. So plugins such as Easy Digital Downloads, they still store this data in WP Content Uploads EDD, which is the Easy Digital Downloads folder. But on top of that, they're adding a .htaccess resource, which is protecting the data. So if I have to currently refer to the existing WP, the existing Easy Digital Downloads resource, they're using the following snippet. They say options minus indexes, which is hiding the indexing for a given directory, which means that, for example, if we only open the uploads folder, we are not going to be able to see all the subfolders, because by default most hosting providers allow you to view a specific folder and all of the files and subfolders in there if you don't have a index.html file. So Easy Digital Downloads protects you from this by hiding this data and pretty much hiding the access to this data. So another thing is it sends an Apache handler which says deny from all, and this plugin is pretty much restricting the access from the server to this link that you've just uploaded. It's great. The best news is that Easy Digital Downloads is still able to serve this resource internally, because the server, when we have the server is accessing the server itself. So the same link is pretty much working to the same link, and therefore the server is able to provide you this resource from a separate link. So Easy Digital Downloads is a plugin for for digital downloads, for downloading digital goods and paying for that sort of memberships. So that plugin is allows you to create a link that's only used once or twice or 3 times. So, for example, if we limit this plugin to once, we say every download that happens from our specific product is going to be downloadable only once through a specific link. So if John goes to our website and buys our book, we are going to send him a link, and when John hits the link, it's going to trigger the download. He's going to be able to download the book, but when he opens the link a second time, this link is no longer going to be active. That's the sort of protection that we're talking about, and that's what makes it possible to pretty much restrict the link from being shared online. Now, we still have the security issue that some of our products can be leaked. For example, if John decides to upload our ebook or our audio file somewhere and just stream it to other people, we can't really do anything. But still, it's it's some sort of security issue that we need to be aware of. That's how the world works like. We can use some trademarks and some licensing. We can send lawyers. If we look for those resources, we can ping the torrents or Warren's websites and ask them to delete this content since it's legal content from you, but it's still a lot of work, and if we have a lot of pirates, they're going to be able to send this product and upload it then again. So that's pretty much about the download stuff. We can still use a membership plugin for courses like Digital Access Pass. It's a way to upload your videos and work with your videos in a way that they're only protected from membership website. Then again, that's the other plugin that I mentioned a bit earlier, which is WP Courseware, which is the WordPress learning management system. There are some other plugins such as L-Dash, which is another plugin that you can use for membership, but I'd really like to recommend WP Courseware, and also as a second, as a backup plan, Digital Access Pass. So about WP Courseware, one of the good things is that you can upload your content to Amazon and also secure it from not being accessed to your web server. Because even if we have access to your resources, which is our first concern, because it can easily be pirated, the second concern that we also have is the load to our server. Because if we're selling some video materials, each video is, for example, 500 megabytes, and if we have 50 people downloading this resource, it means that we're going to generate 25 gigabytes of traffic, and our hosting provider can block our website because of the heavy traffic. So plugins such as WP Courseware can be connected to Amazon and just store your data on a external server that's dealing with our issues, which is some sort of a workaround. Now, the next thing is another question that's been asked by a few people. So let's deal with security now. So the questions are from America, from Peter, and from Liz. The questions pretty much go in the same, in the same field, which is how to prevent from getting hacked or best ways to secure a WordPress website. So security is a really interesting subject in the online space. There was a movie that just went out on Hollywood called Black Hat. So it's live now on the movies, and you can go and see it. It's really interesting since it covers some aspects of social engineering hacking too. And social engineering is a way to get access to your website without, technical knowledge, but pretty much tricking you in a way that I say, hey, I need to fix something and make your server better. So, how can I get access to your web server? And say, okay, I can give you these details, and then I already have half of the advantage and get access to your web server. Or just, doing phone support and say, hey, I'm your internet service provider. You have some internet issues, so you need to, reset the password to your router to 12345. They say, okay, I mean, my internet seems slow. If it gets better, I'm going to reset it. And then I go to your home, and then I, connect to your router because I know your password, and then I can hack your Wi-Fi network. So it's pretty much that simple sometimes. If you think that people don't do it, well, you can go on Facebook and see how many people actually share their passwords for dumb reasons. But getting back to the serious subject and to the actual technical matter, there are different people saying that, WordPress is not secure. Or because WordPress is open source, that means that it's hacked all the time. Well, in fact, that's not really true. If you pay attention to the security news, if you pay attention to different bulletins on security, you'll find out that WordPress is hacked really rarely. And all the hacks related to WordPress are either due to insecure passwords, wrong setup, old WordPress versions, vulnerable plugins or themes, or something like that, but not from the WordPress core itself. So if we assume that you have a decent hosting provider and you install the latest version of WordPress, just the core, it means that your system is almost indestructible, or there's no one in the world right now who can hack your system. So we're good here. But there are other aspects of WordPress that you need to be aware of, and other directions that you can think of and think for in order to be able to actually protect your WordPress website. So one of the things and one of the resources I'm going to send you after the video is a book, again provided by Automatic, which is called Locking Down WordPress. It's a great ebook on security. So it covers securing the WP config PHP file from getting access to it remotely. accessing and setting proper FTP permissions, limiting the WP admin access, and other resources from your WordPress install, which would make your WordPress more secure and harder to actually get access to. But even if you don't get access to the book, I'm going to send you the link though. Even if you don't look at the book, there are a few more things that we need to cover here. So the first thing is your WordPress install should be up to date. You should always update to the latest version of WordPress. And same goes for your theme and plugins. Why? Because, like I said, the WordPress core is secure by default. But every now and then, someone finds some sort of vulnerability, even if it's a small, tiny bit that doesn't really reveals your admin password or anything like that. There are still some small bits that could be fine. But the minute they're found, they're fixed, and a new version of WordPress is being released. But the problem is that when a new version is being released, it's released in a way that we have a new version of WordPress, and it fixes this sort of security issue. So it means that this sort of information is available to everyone, including the hackers. So if you run an older version of WordPress, that means that hackers can say, okay, I know that there's the latest version, and it fixes that sort of security bug or that sort of security issue that I know of and I know how to hack. So if I find older version of WordPress, then I'll be able to hack them and I'll be able to get access to the websites running these older versions, right? So that's why you should keep your WordPress up to date. Now the thing is that in WordPress 3.7, now we're running 4.1, which is the latest version. But in WordPress 3.7, we have a specific feature that's called the automatic updates, and it was a plugin that was integrated in WordPress, and those automatic updates are enabled by default, which means that on your website you will actually automatically update to every single minor version of WordPress. But what do I mean by minor version of WordPress? So for example, if we have version 3.7, this is a major version. 3.8 is a major version, but 3.7.1 is a security fix and it's a minor version. 3.7.2 is another minor version. So the third number from the version is a minor number, and it's something that is usually used only for security fixes or major bug fixes. And that's why WordPress is now automatically updating to those security fixes. Either way though, we still have the issue with the major versions because WordPress doesn't automatically update to major versions. That's why there's a plugin called automatic updates. Let me check the name quickly. So it's advanced automatic updates. I'm going to send you this link a bit later too. And this plugin is pretty handy because it allows you to also update to the major WordPress versions automatically, and also there are options to keep your theme and plugins up to date as well, because it's essential too. If you're using a popular plugin which is large and complicated, it's likely that it has some security issues too, and when it gets updated, you also want to have the latest version of WordPress. So it's something that you'd really like to have set up on your website and working properly. But keeping your plugins and your install up to date, it's not really the only thing that you need to be aware of. So I was working on a website. It's a Danish website a few days ago, and it had close to, I don't know, 2 million views a month, and it was up to date, you know. But when I was hired as a consultant to work on this website, I found out that there's some plugins on this website that haven't been updated since 2009. And I'm not saying that the administrator of the website wasn't updating the plugins and wasn't keeping them up to date, but it turned out that an update for this plugin hasn't been issued by the author of the plugin since 2009, which automatically means that even if you keep your plugins up to date, if your author doesn't care about your plugin, it's likely that there are different sort of issues, be it security issues, speed issues, compatibility issues, or anything like that. Now, there are some plugins that can work, that have been written like 5 years ago, haven't been updated and work, but the larger a plugin is, the more communication and different sort of API features and functions connected to the WordPress core are, which means that it's more likely that it needs to be maintained, or otherwise it's going to cause some security issues. So that's why you also need to keep an eye on your plugins, because it's also important. And some plugins, even if they're updated and they're maintained, sometimes they include versions of libraries or versions of some sort of scripts that might be vulnerable themselves. For example, we had several popular security issues with scripts such as TimTump, which is a library that resizes your image. It's really popular in premium themes, and there were like millions of users affected. Since TimTump is a popular library, thousands of themes include TimTump, and therefore thousands of themes were vulnerable with millions of users due to the fact that that sort of library was included in a theme. So sometimes, even if it's not a part of your theme or plugin in particular, it might be some piece, might be some library or extension in the theme or plugin too. Another popular misconception is that if your plugin is inactive, it automatically makes your install secure. Well, it's not like that, because badly coded plugin can be hacked throughout the plugin itself. And what do I mean here? Well, all the plugins in WordPress are stored in the plugins folder within WP content, which means that on my website.com/WP content/plugins, I have all of the plugin folders listed within that directory. So if I find a vulnerable plugin, even if it's deactivated, the folder is still there, and all of the PHP files are still there, and all of the JavaScript files are still there. So if I know an attack vector that I can directly call the file and pass some arguments there, then it means that I'll be able to get access to the server, or whatever that vulnerability is. So keep in mind that deactivated plugins can also cause security issues. So if you're not using a plugin, just delete it. It's that simple. Most of the time, this plugin is free from the WordPress.org repository. You can download it again if you need it, or if it's a premium plugin, you already have it on your downloads folder, or on Dropbox, or in your email, something like that. But the gist is that everything that is on your hosting is potentially, if it's deactivated, it can also be accessed. And since I said everything that's on your server, this means that you need to be aware of everything that actually is on your server. So hosting is essential. Most websites are ran on shared hosting. The shared hosting is an account on a server, and one server might have 2,000 accounts, which means 2,000 people hosting their websites on that server. Some cheap web hosts have some security loopholes, which means that eventually, if there's someone else on the same server and his account is hacked, then your account is going to be hacked too. And general hosts, I'm not going to use names here, but pretty much the low-cost hosts, they work in a way that they have some vulnerabilities, and then if someone on your physical server is hacked, it means that you can be attacked as well. Now, I'm working with SiteGround. I'm consulting them on WordPress development, and I'm doing WordPress contributions to the WordPress core through them. And I can say that they're really working on security and on speed. And even if I'm working for them, keep in mind that it's my part-time thing, and I wouldn't have been working for them if they weren't at top level in the game. My company website is on SiteGround, my startups websites are on SiteGround, and everything else is pretty much on SiteGround. So I just host with them because I trust their security. So having said that, most accounts, like I said, even if you have other accounts on the same server, keep in mind that these accounts are potentially a reason that your website can be hacked. And even if you use an isolated environment, like, for example, SiteGrounds, like I said here, there's another issue that you might be aware of. If you install several websites on the same hosting, that means that if someone hacks one of your websites in the same hosting, he can also hack your other websites. And one of the most frequent reasons we are doing security reviews and we are patching hacked websites, we are moving websites back to WordPress, back to SiteGround and stuff like that. One of the major reasons we actually do that is because people have their website, on their hosting account, but they also have some other test account, staging account. They have some other WordPress installation or Joomla installation or Drupal installation or some gallery or some other stuff that has been installed. They have been testing some premium themes, some plugins. They have been testing some other stuff, and then they stopped updating that install. That install is old. It's not updated. It's not kept up to date. It has outdated themes. It has some shady plugins and stuff like that. So an attacker can hack this test installation and get access to your real website. So everything that's on your server is essential for your security, and you need to be aware of it. And you need to pay special attention to your server, because it's really, really dangerous if an attacker gets access to your web server. And the more access he has, the more bad stuff the attacker can do. So yeah, like I said, that hosting stuff is essential, and you need to really make sure that everything is up to date. You have the right hosting. You have all your plugins, your themes, and the WordPress core up to date. It's really, really, really important. But again, like I said at first, the WordPress core is secure by default. It's really almost indestructible. Again, there are some bugs, there are some security issues every now and then, but there are also other security issues for every other platform. Did you know that like 2 months ago there was a security found in Internet Explorer that was there for like 17 years, I think. It's 17 years a vulnerability existed in Internet Explorer, and it hadn't been patched before. And the reason it hadn't been patched is that it hadn't been found publicly earlier. And the reason it hadn't been found is that Internet Explorer is not open source such as WordPress, and less people have access to its code, and less people can actually find that sort of thing. But it means that potentially there's an attacker who knows that vulnerability, he hasn't disclosed it, and he's hacking computers because that isn't public, and people can't find that vulnerability, So that's important. But anyway, that's part of the technical part. That's related to the infrastructure, to the applications, to everything that you have on your on hosting. As stupid as it might sound, one of the main reasons websites are hacked is passwords. You can be surprised that about 30% of the passwords on most websites are pretty much alike. They're 123, 123, it's QWERTY, it's password, it's security, or something like that. You have you have a list of like 100 words or like 200 words, and all those keywords are being used for passwords. And a vast majority of the people out there are actually using these passwords. So it's pretty easy to actually get hacked to a bad password. So what you can do in order to prevent that is, of course, to use a decent password. But even if you use a decent password, it's pretty important that you have a different, unique password for each website. Because way too often you use one password for more than one website, and it turns out that one of the other websites is hacked, or it's owned by hackers, or something else. But eventually a hacker has access to your password through another website. And if you use the same password in different websites, then it turns out that this hacker have access to all of the other websites. So, for example, if you use the same password for your blog, for your email, and for Facebook, and for some other website, if the last website is hacked, the hacker can also access your email, blog, and Facebook account. So you can see how tricky it can get if you use the same password on different websites. That's why you need to use different secure websites, different secure passwords, on different websites. The other thing is related to your username. So for many years in a row, WordPress was using admin as the default admin username. So when you install WordPress install, by default your admin is named admin. So what do attackers normally do? So they have to figure out the username and the password. So they run different random combinations in order to find a match between a username and a password. So that's something that you need to be aware of. So if you're using admin for username, 50% of their work is pretty much done. Why? Because they already know your username. They already know that it's admin. It's the default username from WordPress. They just need to figure out your password. So in order to be safe, in order to be secure, then you need to rename your admin user to something else, so that it's hard for them to figure out your admin user. And even better, one of the tricks that you can do is actually register yourself another user that's not admin. It's like, I don't know, your hacky admin name. That's, for example, your username. Register it as a super administrator, and at the same time change the access level, change the role of admin to subscriber. So this way, hackers can, even if hackers understand that there's an admin account on your website, they'll spend a lot of time trying to hack this account. And even if they do hack it, this account will not have actual permissions to your website, because it's going to be subscriber. So this is another way to fool hackers and make your system a bit more secure. Another thing is that it's really important, just to keep your your install and just to keep your user safe, is to log in as rare as possible as administrator. And what I mean is that eventually there might be an issue with your computer. There might be some virus. There might be issue with your hosting, with your Wi-Fi connection or something else, and someone might steal your password, or get your password if you just log in somewhere, or if you log in on some other computer. So if all of the stuff that you do on your website is pretty much writing posts, creating pages, filling in post types, then you can create yourself an author or editor account, and then you'll be able to access everything that you want. You'll be able to see comments and moderate them. You'll be able to create new posts. You'll be able to create new pages, edit them, and stuff like that. So you have all the access that you need, but you won't have access to switching themes, activating or deactivating plugins, touching the settings of your page, exporting some data, editing some themes from the admin, and everything else that's pretty much admin-related material. So, for example, if your main user is an author account, and even if it gets hacked, the hacker won't be able to change your settings, change your email, activate plugins, or do other stuff. The only thing that the hacker can do is just potentially delete some of your posts or write a post, but that's pretty much it. It's going to be a limited post with no hacking material. If the hacker accesses the administrative account, then the hacker can do everything. They can install a plugin that gets access to your database, gets access to your server, browses the other sites on your server, read the WP config file with your passwords, everything. So you're screwed if you use the admin account. So that's why it's better to normally use an account that's not an administrator, just to keep your install safe. And it's actually quite similar with if you're using, for example, Windows. It's quite similar with Windows too. Like there are viruses that delete files, system files, they change system files and everything like that. But if your Windows user is not an administrator, but you can still run your software, create files, and send emails, then a virus that infects your computer is not going to be able to change your Windows, because the virus won't have permissions to do that. But by default, Windows users are administrators too. So again, Windows is causing security issues, and that's why Windows is so hacked, because by default users are, administrators. There are other ways to keep your website safe. For example, you can log the admin if possible. Let's say that you're only accessing your administrator, your WP admin account. You're the only user that accesses it, and also you only have access to it from your home network or from your office network. Then you can set up a .ht access snippet, and you can say that it's only allowed from your IP address. Then if you try to access your WP admin path, from another IP address, then you're not going to be able to access it. So it's really good because if there's a hacker who tries to get access to the WP admin, then they're not going to be able to do that because they're not in your network and they're not using the same IP address, which means that they're just not going to be able to hack it. The only drawback is that if you're also accessing your WP admin from the airport, from the coffee shop, or from anywhere else, you're also not going to be able to access it because you limit it to a specific IP address, which is your home network or office network. For testing different security things, there are different services such as Sucuri, which is SUCURI. So they're a premium service. You can sign up for them. They can keep your site up to date and secure. They're pretty nice guys. So you can use them. Another thing that you can do is they have a free scanner, so they can scan your website and see if you have anything vulnerable. Now, since they're doing the scanning from from remote, they don't have access to everything on your website, so they're not 100% sure if it's infected or not. But they can still figure out and find some vulnerabilities and clean your website, or just say, okay, there's a warning here. We've detected some popular vulnerability, and that sort of vulnerability is something that we can help you with, and you can pay them and get that fixed, or you can hire a consultant that gets that fixed too, based on your security check. So that's one of the things. There are also other plugins about related to security. I'm going to share you the book for security, like I said, from Automatic. One of the plugins is Bulletproof Security. It has different features such as htaccess directory lockdowns. You can do scanning for some file and folder permissions and others. So that's another plugin that's a bit more techy, but you can use it. There's also the iTeams. I think it was Better WordPress Security plugin, which is another thing that you can use and you can get access to for free from the WordPress.org security repository. And yeah, I mean there are different resources. I'm going to send you a few links a bit later with my notes. So it's pretty much very neat. So there's another thing that I'm going to mention about security that's related to accessing your website. So by default, your website is probably http ://yourwebsite.com, but HTTP is the standard HTTP protocol, and it's not secure. So if your hosting supports it, and if you purchase an SSL certificate, then you can make your website secure when it turns to HTTPS instead of HTTP, which is HTTP over SSL. So that sort of additional security means that all of your communication is actually encrypted. It's another security layer, and even if you log in from unreliable wireless routers or unreliable wireless networks, then your communication is still going to be way more secure. So I'd really recommend you to find a host. If your host doesn't support it, find a host that does support SSL certificates, and just order a SSL certificate for your domain name. It's super essential, not to mention that Google said that Google is going to punish websites that are not under SSL. So keep in mind that your SEO will suffer this year if you don't use SSL on your website. So it's an important thing. There's also one other thing that's called two-factor authentication. There are different plugins. You can Google two-factor authentication plugin WordPress. There are different plugins about that, but all of them let you log in only after entering a code that's sent to you as an SMS. So it means that you can connect your phone to the WordPress install. So you just type down your phone number, and when you type down your phone number, then every time you try to log into your website, the website is going to send you a short message to your mobile phone, and that message is going to contain code, and you can enter this code in the login form in order to actually log in. It means that even if someone hacks your username and password, they're not going to be able to log in, because they also need your phone so that they can see the security code sent to you as a message. That's something that's also available for example, for Gmail. It's also available for, I think, for Facebook. For most larger websites, it's available, and I really highly recommend you to use it everywhere because it's another layer of security, and it's pretty good. I'm pretty sure that your bank account, for example, has that sort of security too. Um, so what else would I like to mention here? Yeah, there are two more things that I'm going to mention about security. So the first thing is there's a plugin called WordPress File Monitor Plus. I really love this plugin because what it does is once you have your WordPress website set up with everything, with the theme, with the plugins, with everything, so once you have it set up, you have all of the files on your web server installed. You have the WordPress core, you have your theme, you have plugins, and all the files are there. Every content-related change, like adding new posts, new users, editing pages, connecting menus, stuff like that, everything happens in the database, right? Everything that's related to files should pretty much stay the same. There are very few reasons when you need to change your files. Those reasons are, for example, updating your theme, updating your plugin, regenerating some cache, regenerating some capture image. There are very few reasons for that. But most of the time, if something is changed on your file system, then there's something wrong. Probably your server is hacked, or probably someone installed something, or probably someone deleted something, or probably you deleted something by mistake. So what the WordPress File Monitor Plus plugin does, it's free on WordPress.org, by the way. What it does is it tracks your website, and every, I think, 12 hours, it sends you an email with all the changed files. So the good news is that even if you, for example, get hacked, it's very likely that you catch that attack early enough in order to be able to delete the malicious scripts, revert to a previous version of your website, and secure your website, right? So it's just really, it's great for you to keep track on the changes on your file system and make sure that your file system is secure. And of course, the last thing about security is that in order for you to be able to do that in the first place, I'm sorry, I have a flu. So in order for you to be able to do that in the first place, you need to keep backups. And there are different ways to deal with backups. And that's actually my next bunch of questions. Now, Patrick and Velin both asked me about the backup story. So one of the questions from Patrick is there a plugin that will backup and reinstall a site with all of the plugins configured with the previous site setting? And his description is that it's so time consuming to install a new site and have to reconfigure every single plugin and all of its settings. So yeah, I can relate to that. Like if you have a local website or you have a staging website and you install 50 plugins and then you set up all the settings and then you need to move all of this again, it's really time consuming. So what you can do here is I'm also going to read Velin's question. It's related to updating WordPress, recommending auto updates, and also updating multiple websites. So I'm going to tackle them one by one. Now, on the backup part, your host should be dealing with backups on your behalf. And by this, I mean that most decent hosts allow you to store your backup every single day or at least every single week, even though like every single day is a standard, which means that if something happens to your website and you notify your host early enough, they're going to be able to revert a previous version of your backup. Now, it's great and it's important thing for you, but there are two issues with this approach. The first issue is that you rely on your hosting account to revert your backup. So you need to contact them. It's going to take some time. It might take some delay. It's some extra work and stuff like that. The second issue is that your hosting account keeps a limited number of backups, right? So, for example, if your website was hacked 10 days ago and you didn't know that, and you ask for a backup that's 2 weeks old, your hosting account can tell you, well, okay, but we only store the last week worth of backups. So, then it's your problem that you're not storing backups. So there are a few plugins for backups. I used to use a premium one which is called Backup Buddy. It's by iThemes, and it's really neat, by the way. It's great for larger websites too, and it allows you to really migrate a website completely from one server to another server. It has a nice wizard. You just copy the zip file, you copy one index, one PHP file, and then it says, okay, I can recognize this archive. Tell me what folder should I install it on. It changes all the URLs so that you don't deal with switching URLs. So it's really neat. Backup Buddy is one of the options that I've used, and also for larger installs, because sometimes your server has limitations for the file size, for the import size, PHP timeouts and such. So Backup Buddy does step-by-step process. Like, it refreshes every 10 seconds or 15 seconds in order to ensure that even larger backups are going to be imported. So that's one of my recommendations. A free solution, though, is Backup WordPress, which is, it's one word, Backup WordPress. It's on WordPress.org. It's free. It's by Human Made. They're an incredible agency in the UK that they're dealing with top projects. They're WordPress.com VIP partners. So it's a free plugin that allows you to automatically schedule backups. Send them via email, like just store them on the server. There's a premium version which is like $5 or something, I'm not quite sure, but the premium version allows you to also save it on Amazon, save it on Dropbox, or other places that allow you to keep your website secure. So these are the two plugins that I'm going to mention. Both plugins allow you to package the entire WordPress folder with everything we need within it, the entire WordPress folder and the database, get them from one side and move them to another side. Backup Buddy is a bit more, user-friendly, and also changes the URLs, which is important. But Backup WordPress is also a very good solution that I'm also going to recommend. So Valine's question was again about recommending the auto updates and also updating multiple websites. Now, it's a really great question, so thanks for asking. A bit earlier today, I told you that there are automatic updates from WordPress. They're activated since version 3.7. They only update the minor versions like 3.71, 3.7.2, 3.7.3, and so forth, and they don't update the major versions, and also they don't touch the plugins. Now, like I said, in order for you to be secure, it's good to have automatic updates on in order to have always the last version of WordPress, right? But there's one single issue related to this. So in general, WordPress is pretty much very compatible by itself. Like every now and then I have to get on a new client and upgrade from WordPress version 2.8 to 4.0. It's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years of WordPress updates, and I can still update a version that's 5 years old to the latest version of WordPress, and most of the time it works. But sometimes when you update a plugin, or you update a theme, or you update the latest version to WordPress and still haven't updated the theme or the plugin, then some conflicts happen. It happens. Sometimes it's an author issue, sometimes it's something else. But you risk a chance that your WordPress install can crash for a bit. So what can I say here? Like I said, WordPress by default only does minor updates. They're safe. It's almost impossible to have a minor update that breaks your install. Like, it happens one on every 1 million installs. It's really rare coincidence for this to happen. So the minor automatic updates are fine. I still recommend you to use a system that does, major updates of WordPress and also update your plugins and themes. Like I said, the the advanced automatic updates does that, and the good part is that they also send you an email when update has happened. Like, they send you automatic updates have been applied. These are the plugins that have been updated. These are the themes that have been updated. So that's what happens. And then you can use a uptime monitor. Like, I use Uptime Robot. You can use Pingdom, you can use anything else just to see if your website is up. This is the first thing. You can do a request to your website and see if it's up and if it loads properly. Again, whenever you change something on your website, you might get style issues, you might get some sort of functional issue, some stuff missing. It happens, but it's a really rare thing to happen. And if it does, it's from a plugin that's not really compatible, or there was just an issue with the plugin. So again, in order to be safe, it's a good thing to do the automatic plugin updates and automatic theme updates. If you're aware that you have too many plugins, and although those plugins are going to reduce, cause some possible risk or break your website, then just once or twice a week, go to your WordPress dashboard, update everything manually, and then check 2 or 3 pages on your website just to be sure that it's up. That's another alternative that you can do if you're aware that your website can be broken after an update. Okay, so next questions are related to speeding up a website. So Jay asked us, what are your best tips for speeding up a WordPress site? It's yeah, it's an interesting question because additional question is not just choice of theme. For example, what would you do if you don't want to change your theme? And then another question from Patrick is, I understand that the most plugins you have installed, the slower the site loading time. Is there a way to make everything play well with each other without compromising the site speed? Sometimes it's nice to have the functionality of quite a few plugins, but how do you find the balance in the load time? So, the first question is related to speeding up a website in general, and what happens if you don't want to change your theme. So, there are different ways to speed up your website. Now, the main issue that I would like to outline still is the good web host. So, many of you probably don't know that, but having a decent web hosting provider and a decent hosting in general is incredibly essential, because one of the main reasons per se for delay is the so-called time to first byte, which is it's a measurement factor that says it's a combination of the network speed, server load, the time it takes for the server to compute, the PHP execution time, database queries, and figure out what to do in order to start sending back data to the server. So it means that if your server is far away, if it's slow, if it hasn't been configured properly, if your Apache or Nginx is really messed up and slow and everything like that, if your server resources are bad, if your server isn't optimized for WordPress, if you don't do caching and like everything like that, it's going to be super slow. And anything that you do with code might help a little bit, but you have a limitation to where you can optimize. So you have to work with a decent hosting provider in order to optimize your speed. This is the first thing. The second thing is that if you're not, a technical user per se, if you're not a high-level technical user, then you need to use a caching plugin. So I gave SiteGround as an example. They have a super cacher plugin that does static and dynamic and database caching. Some of the free plugins out there are W3 Total Cache and WP Super Cache. So these are the 2 most popular plugins for caching that you can install. Now keep in mind that both of them are complicated, especially W3 Total Cache. They have tons of options, they have tons of features, and it's something that can help you a lot, but there are some conflicts with different sort of plugins. Sometimes they just have conflicts, and if you try to remove them, then it gets really nasty because they change a lot of things on your server. They add some object caching files. They change your htaccess for accessing WordPress with some load times. I mean, it's something that you have to know about. You have to know that they exist. They're free. You can use them. But I definitely suggest you to either hire someone who can configure them to your website, or spend some time doing backup on your website, spend some time reading, trying to install them. If something happens, just revert to the last backup of the website. It's, again, I like them. I use them for some websites, even if I try to do my own, server and caching configuration, because I can make it faster for my own website. But still, so they're pretty good, but they have some conflicts every now and then, and you just need to know what to do. There's also a premium new plugin, which is WP Rocket. It's paid, but it's a really good one, and the support is high level. Which reminds me that W3 AutoCache also offers a premium service to configure it. It's about 150 bucks or something, but you can install the plugin, make your site super fast by hiring someone who can just come and configure it for your own system. So all those servers, all those plugins, sorry, they have a lot of options to speed up your website, and I'm going to mention some of them below if you want to do them one by one or with different plugins or anything else. So one of the other important things is using a CDN. So CDN is Content Delivery Network. It's a network of servers across the entire world that you can host your images, your styles, your scripts to. Which means that, for example, your website is in Texas and you have a visitor from Melbourne in Australia, and then if you take a look at the globe, you're here, he's here, and the request should go through the entire globe, coming to your server, asking for something, and getting back all the way to Australia, which is like, I don't know, 12 hours time zone difference or something like that. So that sort of time is really going to take, it's going to be a large amount of time to do the request, computate everything, and get back to you. So what you can do to speed it up is to just use a CDN and host all of your static resources there. So often the majority of the resources that are heavier are scripts and also images. Like if you have sliders, if you have some galleries or anything like that, these are the images that are really heavy. And if your website is 2 megabytes large, then your HTML is probably like 100 kilobytes, and everything else is media. So if when doing the request, you're just pulling 100 kilobytes of data from across the world, and then pulling the other 1.9 megabytes from a near server, because, for example, most CDNs have servers in Sydney, which is, well, next to Melbourne per se. So the other information is going to be pulled from a server that's really near your client. If your client is from Netherlands, from Amsterdam, for example, in Netherlands, then there's a CDN in Netherlands, and they can pull most of your website from a server that's next to them. So there are different CDN services. I use CloudFront by Amazon. That's one of the options. You pay by the traffic that you have. There's Max CDN. It starts at like 10 bucks a month. It's really decent. It's very professional, so I can recommend it. There are also other options. One of the most popular one is Cloudflare. So Cloudflare is free. It's a CDN, and it's also a security firewall. It's a web firewall, and it's free, which is the best. You can connect it to W3 AutoCache, but personally, I found out that it's really unprofessional sometimes. It just marks some IP addresses as bots. It disconnects your website sometimes. It asks you for entering CAPTCHA. Asks some people to enter CAPTCHA on your website, which is annoying. So you lose visitors. Even like yesterday, or I think on Sunday, I actually grabbed a screenshot from Cloudflare's website, and it was down. And it was down with Cloudflare's message on the Cloudflare's website. It's not really professional. Like, it's really something that you might keep in mind because it's free, but also keep in mind that it might affect your users. Another thing is optimizing your images. It's really common for people to just use some huge images for some small box from their website. Just use thumbnails, register image sizes, or use some plugins that are cutting image sizes for you. It's really simple, but just don't use huge images for small image sizes. Also, those images can be optimized too, like just by removing metadata from the file itself and other things. There are plugins such as WP Smash It, which is using the Yahoo's API, and you can drastically reduce the size of the images loaded on your website. So keep it in mind. Now, to sum it up, there's some websites such as Pingdom. and some tools like tools.pingdom.com/fpt, which is the speed scanner, and also gtmetrics.com. And both websites allow you to run a speed test on your website. So the Pingdom one is going to tell you how long does it take for your website to load, and also list all of the resources that are being loaded, which means the initial page of yours, all the images, all the media, all the sources, and also their order. So if you're into that and you want to spend time, then you can review all those resources, see how long does it take, see how many resources are loaded, see what are the largest resources that you can optimize, see whether you can do something to make it faster. On the other hand, GTmetrix is even smarter because it also suggests you what to do in order to speed up your website. Like, it can say there are too many scripts here, you can combine them or you can minify them, which is pretty much compressing the size of the scripts and mixing them in one file in order to load only one thing over the internet, just one file, instead of pulling, for example, 12 files. It's just less communication, which means less time to connect to the server, move the data, and stuff like that. So it's easier. So GTmetrix can be used for that. So yeah, I mean, it's something that you can you can do and analyze what's happening, and depending on your specific case, decide what's the best way to tackle that issue. Because sometimes it could be, oh wait, like I have these 30 scripts loading here, I actually don't need them, and they're coming from a plugin that I don't need. So you can just deactivate the plugin and everything can work again. So another thing is optimizing your database. Sometimes you have some things in your database that are taking too much space. They're making your database queries too slow. For example, some cache data in the database called transients are keys that are stored, and if you don't update, you might have millions of keys in your database that are stored, and your database is slow because of that. Or you might have a lot of revisions. For example, if you edit your homepage every day for the past 2 years, it means that you have 700 revisions of your homepage, right? So instead of having only one post, you have 700 posts for your homepage, which means that you have a lot of data in your database, and it can be optimized with tools such as WP Optimize. It also works for images, for cleaning data from logging plugins, related data plugins, or other things that are not needed. There are other things that you can do in order to speed up your website. Some of them are server related, setting expire headers, gzip compression, browser cache. It's a bit more technical, but again, if you use gtmetrics.com, they really give you some insights on what needs to be fixed, and then you can decide what to do in order to pretty much fix that. Also, before doing any sort of changes, optimization, whatever, just back up your data. Never forget to back up your website and data, because if you break it, you're going to have a way to revert it easily. Otherwise, it's going to be complicated to refix it instead of just reverting the working version. And there's also one plugin called P3 Profiler, which is on WordPress.org. It allows you to scan your website. So, for example, you have 20 plugins. It allows you to run your website with only one plugin at a time, every time, and see how long does it take to each plugin to load your entire website. So this way you can figure out which are the heaviest plugins on your website, which are the heaviest pages, and everything like that, and decide whether these plugins are worth using. So definitely I can definitely recommend it. So yeah, I think that the last question is about profitable search terms. So Nick asks how to find profitable search terms. Honestly, it's not really my niche. I mean, I think that it pretty much depends on what niche are you after and what do you want to accomplish. Is it a specific business model? Is it a specific service that you want to launch? Is it a specific product that you want to sell? Do you want it to be widely popular, like a reality show, or do you want it to be niche for the high enterprise? So it really depends on what exactly do you want to accomplish with your website. But I'm also going to ask Stanil a bit later if he wants to share his insight on this, because he's far more proficient in that part of stuff, and probably even cover it in his newsletter on Wiziva. But the general recommendation for me would be head to Google Trends and see what are the trends at the moment. What are the mostly searched terms right now. Also, head to the Google keywords the Google Keywords Planner, sorry, or AdWords in general, and see how much does it cost for a given keyword in order to see what's the interest in people investing in that keyword, or just go to the Google Keyword Planner and get suggestions for the amount of searches that happen for a given keyword. There are also other tools. I use moz.com. They have research tools for keywords. With moz.com and with other different services, you can analyze competitors, see what sort of keywords do they rank for, um, and it's other things that you can generally use in order to optimize your profitable search terms. Also, if you already have an existing website and it's ranking for some keywords, keep in mind that you can check your webmaster tools, and again, if you have connected something like Moz, and just analyze what sort of things you can actually use in order to improve your keywords, like define the range of your keywords, get more assumptions and more ideas for keywords, and just analyze the market better in order to refine it. So Stanil is giving me a hint here. So Dick is asking, is all-in-one SEO OD SEO we need? Haha, I like the question. So all-in-one SEO is one of the most popular tools for SEO. It has like, I don't know, 22 million downloads or something. What I personally use is Yoast's. It's actually WordPress SEO by Yoast. So um, it's I was actually I was organizing the local WordPress Bulgaria meetup last night, and we had a guest from the SEO community who's a recognized SEO expert, and we were actually having the same discussion: what's the best SEO plugin? Uh, the short version is that it's subjective. Different people have different opinions. Some people love all-in-one SEO. Uh, they really enjoy using it. In my opinion, WordPress SEO by Yoast is better because, at least for me, it works better. It allows you to do different things in order to improve your SEO. And by different things, I mean it optimizes your meta tags, it removes your duplicated content, it allows you to add meta content on your taxonomies, it allows you to hide, for example, date archives and other things in order to, again, remove the duplicated content. It has an extension that's for breadcrumbs, so it allows you to add breadcrumbs. You can connect it to, you can generate sitemaps. Some people say that they have issues with the sitemaps from Yoast, but you can also use, a different XML sitemaps plugins if you want. But in general, WordPress SEO by Yoast does a lot of things, and also Yoast as an agency, they're based in Netherlands. They do SEO full-time as an SEO consulting firm. They write books on SEO. They do SEO, reports on your website and reviews. So if you use their plugins, it's easier for you to communicate with them and pay them for, some services to optimize your website better. So in general, that's what I'd recommend. But if you want to use all-in-one SEO, again, it's also popular and it could probably help you too. I think there's another one which is Ultimate SEO Ultimate or something like that. That's also quite popular that you can try as well. Another question is from Erica. Was this recorded? So Erica's in meeting. She came here, and so if I can repeat the backup, please. Okay, so Backup Buddy is, like I said, the first plugin that I mentioned. It's premium. It's from iThemes. The other one is Backup WordPress. It's one word, Backup WordPress. You can find it on WordPress.org. But don't worry, first off, the video is recorded. It's Google Hangouts, so after the video is over, it's just going to be live on YouTube, and you can replay it as many times as you want. Stanil is going to send you the video. I'm also going to send you the link to the people who signed up for the Hangout, and also I'm going to sum up a few a few of the plugins and the links that I mentioned, since I was taking some notes while speaking too. So I'm going to send you some links as well, so not to worry. Um, so Nick is asking about my thoughts on content curation plugins and whether I can recommend one, and whether it's a good idea. So good question, Nick. To be honest, I'm not really doing content curation myself. I'm dealing with internet marketing and with content marketing, inbound marketing, and growth hacking. But the fact is that I don't do content curation. I don't really, it's not really my field. It's I don't really get it per se. I've tried some plugins. I think the one was Zenita or something like that, WordPress plugin. Let me just quickly see something that I tried lately. Yeah, I need to get back to you on that. So I was trying to retrieve these plugins, but none of them really resonated with me. So I can't really help with content curation in particular. But still, I was trying one or two of the plugins, so I'm going to send you some links for this one. Um, okay, any other questions, Stanil, if you have from the list?
May I ask one question?
Yeah, sure, shoot.
First, it was a great presentation. I always learn something new from you. And I really love the idea to make the admin a subscriber. It's a great tip. So I will go to the first step. When and why we should choose WordPress compared to the other CMS systems or custom built website? So advantages, disadvantages, and
right. Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So, so it's a really tough question, but in general, WordPress is one of the opportunities to build a business online. So it's one of the options for you to create a to create a business, to integrate to other systems and everything related to the entire platform as well. What I'd like to sum up is that given the latest stats, WordPress is used by more than 23% of the websites worldwide, which means that almost every fourth website online, which means one of every 4 websites online right now is based on WordPress. So you can see how popular the platform is. And that said, if other services and other businesses want to do integrations, want to pretty much earn money and build business, so they need to integrate with WordPress. It's pretty much a requirement if you want to be alive in this business. Also, it's since WordPress started in 2003 and started as a blogging platform, most people who do content writing can generally generate any sort of content use WordPress. It means bloggers, journalists, lots of people just working on news websites, online newspapers, online magazines, corporate blogs. Everyone who's doing writing, almost everyone is doing WordPress, which means that all of the other areas related to blogging, which are again PR, marketing, again content marketing, or anything in that area is part of the WordPress crew, so to speak. That's why most of the services are now launched either with WordPress integration or directly as WordPress plugins. That's why we have tens of thousands of WordPress plugins available. Some of them are free, some of them are cheaper, but in general, it's a really widely used platform, and it's under heavy development. There's a very large group of people, me including, who contribute to WordPress, so it means that it's unlikely for it to disappear. And if I have to branch out to the options that are not WordPress for generally websites, I'd say that there are pretty much 2 options. The first one is using another CMS, such as Joomla or Drupal. The second one is building a website from scratch or from a PHP framework. So now the first thing is using a CMS, like, for example, Joomla or Drupal. There are still a lot of websites built on Joomla or Drupal. Drupal is really popular in the e-government world. Like it means different governments, I think in Belgium, in Netherlands, or like different countries dealing with governmental structures, with some other political organizations, non-profit organizations. So it's popular, but the community behind Drupal is much lower in comparison to WordPress. I don't have the right numbers like next to me, but I think that if 23% of the web is based on WordPress, then like 1 or 2% are Joomla and 3 or 4% are Drupal, something like that. Again, I don't have the numbers here, but the difference is more than 10 times for sure. So having that sort of community doesn't really help you to have access to all the resources that are available for WordPress. Also, since WordPress is that popular and that are that many websites, which is more than 70 or 80 million websites, that means that people spend time building premium themes, which would make your website more beautiful, more popular, more usable. Premium plugins, which would make it more functional, and in general, more people are spending time using this platform. So, getting back to the comparison with other CMS systems, sometimes, you might have a team, a bunch of people who have experience with another platform, or you might have some specific plugin or module that's available only for example, for Drupal. Then go for it. It's a viable option still. You can do it. But most of the time, WordPress is just the right fit for many reasons. And then moving to the section with building site from scratch, or building it with framework. Now I was doing different stuff before starting with WordPress. I was building first enterprise applications with Java, really high-end telecom, bank applications, food store chains, and different sort of things. And then I was doing development on PHP from scratch in different frameworks, and also platforms such as Drupal. But the thing is that I found out that like 70% of my projects had the same things that need to be built. For example, 70% of my projects had posts or news for the blog. They had pages. They had media that needs to be uploaded and available in my pages and posts. They had users. They had comments. They have different sort of settings. So it turned out that for every single project, I have to build all of these from scratch. Um, there are it doesn't really make sense to do all of this repetitive work if it's already there. Also, for an emerging website, for example, for a startup or for a small company, it's sometimes it's really easy to just download a free plugin instead of spending like 2 weeks on building this plugin on your own. Or especially if it's for something larger like forums or social network or e-commerce store, there are different options out there that are free or really cheap. And even if you're a developer, it will take you a few weeks or even maybe a few months to build these from scratch. Not to mention that since they're open source and the platform is widely popular, there are hundreds of people building these products. So why build it yourself? You won't be able to keep it up to date, maintain it all the time, in comparison to the platform that has a lot of people that actually do that all the time. So I've written a few blog posts, and if Staniw is fine with that, I'm probably going to share some of these with you. But the short version is that WordPress is really great platform for many reasons, and I'll give you a few ideas for this, for MVPs, for e-commerce stores, for just building some startups. But there are very few reasons where WordPress is not a good fit. Like, for example, if your website doesn't use posts or news or comments or anything else, for example, Twitter. In Twitter, you only have some statuses. Like when it started, it had, your username and your message and the date. That's it. You don't have everything else that's included in a WordPress post. You don't have, comments because everything is tweets. You didn't have media. You didn't have a lot of things. So WordPress was pretty much overhead there. If you have something else that's completely different from the idea of WordPress, then again, it doesn't make sense. If you have a project that doesn't use users, doesn't use comments, media, post, only uses pages, then it's probably an overhead to use WordPress. But most of the time, um, most of the time it's really a great idea to just do that, to just use WordPress. And the other thing is speed, because after all, WordPress is fast, you can optimize it, but it's still slower than building something from scratch. And it's normal, because WordPress is a general purpose platform. It's something that, it should work for everything. It should work for all the websites. So it has some necessary overhead in order for this to be possible. So if you, my favorite example is if you write software for your brake engine for your car, you won't use WordPress for this. You want something that's incredibly fast, so that whenever you hit the brake on your car, the car immediately stops, not doing all the calculations and like whether I should call the database now and cache this query and do this, and like bam, you have the crash. So if speed is super essential, if it's like a bank software and you need like top-notch security first hand and closed source just to be 100% sure, if you have a product that doesn't uses post comments pages or anything like that, then you can use anything else. But if your product has post pages, comments, media, users, then there's no reason for you to spend all the time to build features that are already there, already implemented, and you can use them from scratch. Another question from Erica is, quote, do you do these sessions often, or is it the first time only webinar? So I deal with speaking. I teach courses, classes on web development, on WordPress. I also speak at different WordCamps and WordPress meetups, which are, again, WordPress-related events. Most of my talks are highly technical because of my engineering background, but I've also had appearances in different podcasts, in different hangouts. I'm the lead of the WordPress developers user group on Google+. So we had a few shows from our user group. But WordPress users, so how should I put it? So a hangout that's related to users of WordPress, it's something that I do. It's my first time, but if you like that and Stony is fine, I'd be happy to continue doing it once every 2 months or something like that. How does it sound, Stony? Okay, Stony is probably muted, but he's here.
Yeah, that's great. We can make it again.
Yeah, cool.
We can also talk what about SEO. I see it is probably the most interesting topic for the people. So
yeah, well, it would be great to probably run another iteration through your mailing list with that video or something, and then just get another bunch of questions and probably assign some webinars that are specific to a specific subject, like one for speed, one for SEO, one for something else. But yeah, that's why we ask questions, because it's really easier when people have actual questions and we can help them instead of just doing a specific session that's not of interest to the people.
Yeah, I think it will work, and we can also sometimes make a practical session where we share screens and show how we do something in WordPress or something like that.
Yeah, that would be nice too. Yeah, okay, good idea. Do we have any other questions?
No more questions.
Okay, well, I think that we can wrap up for now, just to to leave some time for people to process the information and not to make the video too long. So thanks everyone for having me. Thanks, Daniel, for your invitation. And yeah, I'll be around and I'll send you the notes to to everything that I have, to the questions that we've discussed. And yeah, anything that you want to say in order to wrap up the session?
Yeah, thanks. It was great. As I said, I learned a lot again. So I will be happy to make other meetings like this in the future. Like you said, every 2 months, it will be great. And thanks to all the attendees. And Mario will be probably, you will compile a list of the plugins you mentioned, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of plugins and resources and SiteGround and all the others, so it will be great to send an email with all the names of the plugins and the teams. And yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you too. Well, okay, that's all from now. Like Sunil said, I'm going to compile a list with all the resources, and we'll send it via email. And if you're interested in having more sessions related to WordPress or different specific niches related to WordPress, just let us know, and we can organize another hangout. Have a good rest of the day, and see you around.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.